Hello wrestling fans, the Wrestling Wizard here, and welcome to a very special episode of Wizard Watch, where we're going to review this year's Royal Rumble. But before we get into the juicy stuff, get down in the comments section, what did you think of tonight's show? Now, I've got to be honest with you, I'm a little bit on the fence. A lot I loved, a lot I hated, and a lot of it was somewhere in between. Actually, most of it was somewhere in between. Now, let's start off with the Men's Royal Rumble match. Now, this was a predictable outcome, but albeit the right decision, I think, from Triple H and Creative. It made sense after all the video packages and obviously Cody coming back since June of last year at the Hell in the Cell when he torn his pec. So it kind of made sense. Whether this is going to be a direct route into facing Roman Reigns for both the belts, I'm not so sure. I think the Elimination Chamber is going to throw a few curveballs, but it was the right decision, and there were a lot of top noteworthy moments throughout the Rumble. I did love the fact that we saw Booker T in the Rumble, and let's not forget Pat McAfee. We've missed him on commentary. Some of his one-liners are just absolute class. Of course, seeing a stare down between Brock Lesnar and Gunther, that's definitely a match for the future. Bobby Lashley eliminating Brock Lesnar, like that was an absolute shock. And of course, that really high moment when we got Ricochet from one end of the ring on the top rope and Logan Paul on the other end, and those two collide in the centre of the ring. I've never seen anything like that, to be honest with you. And I've been watching wrestling since like the late 90s, and I can't remember a collision like that, especially in the Royal Rumble. Just a side mention to Dominic Mysterio as well. I have to say, he's playing this spoilt brat jerk character so well. The disrespect coming out with Rey Mysterio's mask. Also, we saw the return of Edge getting his revenge on the Judgment Day. The Judgment Day getting eliminated, and then the Judgment Day eliminating Edge. And then Beth Phoenix coming out and getting her revenge on Rhea Ripley, which was pretty sweet at the time. Some pretty cool moments. Now, like they do every year, of course, they hype it and call it the best Royal Rumble ever. I wouldn't go that far, but I think it was a very solid Royal Rumble, and it made sense. They made Gunther look like an absolute weapon coming in from number one. I love the fact Sheamus was in at number two. Throwback to, of course, their match at Clash at the Castle. And lasting over an hour, and Cody and Gunther, like, I could have watched them all night long. Like, it was so good. I love the fact that they actually had quite a long spot at the end rather than just like a quick elimination like they normally do. And overall, I think it was a solid Rumble. I think we knew it going on first that we weren't going to see, say, The Rock return. And we weren't going to see any major returns either. And I'm cool with that because the main event lived up to its expectation. Now, moving on to the Bray Wyatt versus LA Knight match. Now, this is where my heart is slightly torn here. You know, on this channel, I'm a massive Bray Wyatt fan. I've got to be honest with you, I wasn't a massive fan of the actual match. I thought the aesthetics were brilliant with the neon lighting. Naomi would be like absolutely in her element in that match, wouldn't she? And the visuals were great. I thought Bray looked fantastic with his like war paint on that he had, all that face paint glowing up with the eyes, the switch during the match. I thought it was brilliant, but the actual match was a little bit disappointing. But I'm not gonna like criticize it too much because of course we got a new character reveal, it seems. Now the question that comes up, what is this? Was this Uncle Harper? Did we see the official reveal of Uncle Harper? Of course, Bray did do a tribute to Brody Lee at the end, once old Uncle Howdy thought he was Shane McMahon diving up the top of the stage with the Firefly Funhouse puppets in the background. He missed that by an absolute country mile, but I'm not complaining because it was a kind of cool spot. And of course, still loads of questions surrounding this. Of course, Bray having the number 6 in Roman numerals on the side of his head. Was that the Wyatt 6 we saw? And of course, the 4 Firefly Funhouse characters. This new version, we can't name it yet because we don't know what it is. And of course, Uncle Howdy. Absolute hero, Uncle Howdy. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail in a separate video on this. Overall, it was all right. Now, moving on to the Alexa Bliss Bianca Belair match. Now, I'm going to skip through this. I don't think it was a brilliant match, to be honest with you. I like in the presentation of Alexa, her new theme and her new attire. I think she looks really good. Also, I like the fact that Bianca has more of a edge to her babyface character. I'm still not a fan of the spinning the ponytail down the entrance ramp I've sort of done with that, but I like the fact you've got more of a serious edge to her character. Maybe we see a transition, and this looks all but set up for what we know in a moment, of course, in the winner of the Women's Royal Rumble, where it seems like the WrestleMania Women's event is going to be main event. I think this was all basically set up for more progression with the Alexa Bliss storyline. In a nutshell, what I took from it was Uncle Howdy is the one in charge of Alexa Bliss. And without Uncle Howdy, she's not going to win. Without Uncle Howdy, she's not the complete package. She's not fully embraced in the darkness. But I could be wrong. Now, moving on, of course, to the Women's Royal Rumble match. I really enjoyed this. I actually preferred this to the Men's Royal Rumble. And I know that's a little bit controversial because we saw a lot of returns, a lot of comebacks. And the women's roster is stacked full of potential. Now, hopefully, there's not too many cooks in the kitchen because there's only so much you can do with all this overload of talent. But, of course, it was a very, very strong showing from Liv Morgan, of course, the eventual winner, which we'll get onto in a moment, and Damage Control as well. Damage Control were dominant. I was surprised that Bayley eliminated Becky as well, and then Becky went savage. I think those two are going to face off at WrestleMania, or the Elimination Chamber, maybe more likely. But it was good. Like, we saw a lot of returns. We saw Chelsea Green come back to WWE, even though she lasted like literally a few seconds in the ring. We saw the return of Nia Jax. And I love the way that everyone just looked at her like, we're going to all collectively get together and eliminate you. And then, of course, we saw Asuka as well. Like, Kana vibes. Like, that was cool. And I love the way that how Liv, like, sold it as well before she came into the ring as well. There was a lot of hot spots. Michelle McCool chucked in there as well. Also, we saw Doudrop transform back into Piper Niven. A welcome return to her NXT gimmick. And hopefully she gets taken more seriously in the women's roster. Anyone want to see Nia Jax versus Piper Niven? That would be a pretty cool match. If, of course, Nia Jax is back permanently or it was just a one-off appearance. And also, one superstar that really shone for me, the current women's NXT champion in Roxanne Perez. Like, she looks the real deal, doesn't she? She's definitely going to get a call up at some point to the main roster. For 5'1", like, she's lethal, isn't she? She's rapid as well. Overall, of course, this went down to the wire with Asuka, Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley, the final three. Of course, coming down to Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley. And Rhea Ripley being the victorious one, and it makes sense. Like, that move made sense. I know it was a slightly predictable one, but no one's complaining about the prospect of Bianca Belair versus Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania, which looks more than likely at this stage. Now, moving on to my favourite segment of the Royal Rumble. How could you not love this? The match between Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns is fairly decent. Pretty brutal from Roman. I mean, he's gone up like next level boss vibes, isn't he? And of course, gets the victory. The spear through the barricade was a standout point. And of course, the spear for the victory. And then I had a feeling this is going to happen, that Roman Reigns was going to take things too far. Like, handcuffed KO to the ropes. Was battering him. Took about 1 million super kicks from the Usos. And then just as Roman Reigns was going to hit Kevin Owens with the chair, Sami Zayn stopped him. And Roman was like, nah, you're not getting away with this. Gave Sami the chair. Ordered him to do it, like slapped him up a bit, ordered him to do it. And then the best moment, I think, of the show, Sami Zayn battering Roman Reigns with a chair that took him right down to the ground. But more the fool Sami Zayn, because he got a beat down from the bloodline, all but except Jey Uso, who walked away from Roman Reigns. So what is going to happen? Like, you got to remember how this storyline all started with the Tribal Chief. Jey Uso took a beat down to earn Roman's respect. He resisted Roman at first, and now he seems like the one coming full circle here. It's still resisting Roman Reigns and on the side of Sami Zayn. So many questions here. I think this is going to be so juicy leading into the Elimination Chamber. Being in Montreal, Canada. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn from Canada. Like, this is going to be a big storyline arc leading into WrestleMania. What route they go down, I'm still not sure yet, but what a moment. They teased it perfectly, and Roman Reigns is just absolutely killing it. Say what you will about him. It's been like nearly over 2 years now since this Tribal Chief gimmick, and it's not stale. It isn't. Like, you think the huge payoff in all of this, and it's still just warming up. Sami Zayn saw sense as well. I like the fact he didn't play a dumb guy, you know, just like completely ignoring the obvious, and stood up for himself and his friend, his best friend in Kevin Owens. What a storyline, what a moment. Of course, following this video, we're going to take a look at Bray Wyatt's new character in a little bit more detail. But what did you think of the show? Get down in the comment section. As always, be really appreciative if you could like the video, share the video, and even better, subscribe if you're new.